Hello, and welcome to Scott's Amateur Woodshop. Today I'd like to do a little bit of a roundup book report on Workbench books. I want to tell you about what I found useful and not useful about the books that I purchased that helped me build my workbench, which I'm quite pleased with, by the way. So the first book I'll mention is this book by Chris Schwartz. This I have here, the revised edition, Workbenches. From design and theory to construction and use. My favorite section of this book is where it takes you through each thing you might want to do with a workbench, like, say, cutting tenons, for example, and then Schwartz's preferences in order of what he likes to use, so different vices, different work-holding apparatus in order. And it really helps you to go through that section and think through your own woodworking and which kind of vices are actually going to be most rewarding to you. I decided on the leg vise basically because it seems to have maximum versatility. This book is really an essay on how woodworking workbenches should be built, and it doesn't give you a lot of options if you don't agree with the thesis of the book. But if you do agree with the thesis of the book, which is essentially that a workbench is a three-dimensional clamping surface, which should have things like these flush front surfaces on them, then this is an excellent resource. This book has 4 workbenches in it, 2 variants of the Roubaud or French workbench, and 2 variants of the English or Nicholson workbench. So that's kind of on one end of the spectrum. It's opinionated and it's specific. On the other end of the spectrum, I bought this book called The Workbench, which is by Lon Schleining, and is published by Taunton. And I think this is an excellent coffee table book. It shows all kinds of different workbenches that you might want to do, and assembly tables and special purpose workbenches. The issue with this is that some of the people in this book make chairs, or they only make guitars, or whatever. So the workbench that works fine for them may not be fine for you. If you read this after having read the Schwartz book, you see what look like a lot of, frankly, blunders. Like, when you see a workbench without this flush front face, or without a way to clamp a board on edge, it really seems like a missed opportunity. So this is a really fun book to look through, but if you're convinced by Schwartz as I am, then I'd also say it can be a bit of a minefield. But it's great for inspiration, and if you know you want to do something different, this is full of ideas. So I'll put that over that on the other end of the spectrum. Very broad and not opinionated. And there are some excellent workbenches in there, and there are some workbenches that I would never want to build in there. So in the middle of the spectrum, this is another book by Chris Schwartz and the popular woodworking staff at the time, the Workbench Design book. And this shows, I think, about 9 workbench designs, and they're all kind of critiqued. Perhaps my favorite thing that I found recently in this book was something called the 21st Century Woodworking Bench, where there was a critique at the end of the section. And it was this very wide workbench with center tool trays that could be removed and flipped. And it talked about how, I think it was Robert Lang's bench, he was the kind of woodworker who tended to leave his tools all around, so the tools were kind of useful, but maybe a mixed blessing. But I really like this. If you want to branch out, do something different, and you really think you have some unique criteria, or you're really more of a power tool user and you kind of only half want a workbench, then I think this is an excellent book for showing just some other options out there. So where did I land with my personal workbench notebook? I landed just a little, just right about there. Just on the Workbenches book, with maybe just a little influences from other things. I pretty much stuck with the Roubaud recipe. I I happened to land on the leg vise just like many Roubeau builders do, but it was honestly, it was because of it was going through each operation that I might want to do that convinced me. And I wanted the wagon vise because I know I like pinching things between dogs. Sometimes I work on short, thick pieces of wood, and it's really useful. So anyway, that's what I think of a few books on workbenches, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please use the buttons down below. There are a lot of them these days. And have an excellent day. All right, bye now.